On today's episode of Messy Joy, Vanessa interviews communication specialist Lynda Antonetti. They'll dive into building communication routines that truly stick, share relatable experiences of connection and miscommunication, and offer actionable strategies for stronger, clearer interactions. It's an episode you won't want to miss. And it all starts now.
Welcome, Lynda, to the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
So excited to be here.
Lynda, we go, how many years now?
How many years you married?
So we're married 10 years.
So we go back maybe 11, 12 years.
Right, 11 to 12 years.
Yes.
So go ahead, tell us how we met. How did we meet?
How did we meet? We met because my husband and I started a Bible study for nearly newlyweds. So those engaged and those getting ready to, and right after marriage, right after their first few years of marriage. And that's how we met, when you came to our nearly newlywed Bible study.
And then we never left.
And that's okay. And we love it. And we love that we still keep in contact with everybody from the group a little bit. Yeah. And we love just seeing all of you and your families growing, and from a place of just before marriage to now. How many kids?
3 kids. Three kids later. Yes. So it's funny because when I reached out to you, I was looking like just a relationship. And I'm saying, wow, like Lynda and Ralph have been there and have seen us in the most beautiful moments of life, right? So we were there when you guys were there when we got engaged. We were just newly engaged. You were there for the wedding. You were there for Nicholas, before Nicholas.
Right before Nicholas, yes.
We had gone through a miscarriage and you guys were there, and you guys were part of that prayer warriors that we had.
You don't even know the blessing that you both were to Ralph and I, because while we were doing a Bible study for couples, it actually helped us as a couple too. And just your young relationship just invigorated our relationship. So
it was great.
It was a blessing to us as well.
We were so sad when it ended. We're like, you can't. I remember we were like 5 years into it, right? I think we were 5 years married.
6, yeah.
And Lou and I kept saying, are they going to kick us out? Because this is just for newlyweds and newly married.
Because we said it was up to 5 years.
Right.
And after 5 years, you had to move on to another Bible study, right?
We're like, I'm like, we can't. So we actually talked about, we had like this whole thing script that we were going to come to
goodness.
you. We're like, this is the reasons why you can't kick us out of your...
Oh my goodness. I didn't even know that you had a whole script ready.
We had like a whole script ready as to why you couldn't kick us out of your group.
That's funny. That's funny.
So it was just so much of a time.
But we wound up and it was just a season of our life.
Yes.
And we were in a very busy season of our life. So we had to stop the Bible study. But, I'm thinking about new things. So we'll see.
Call us.
Yeah, whatever God calls us to do.
Like 10 plus years married.
10 plus years? Yeah. Maybe. We'll see.
So we can come back.
We'll see.
But for those of those who don't know you, Lynda is a communication specialist with over 20 years experience.
Yeah, almost actually over 30 years.
Oh,
a little bit over 30 years,
wow.
yes. I've been working in the field of speech pathology since my kids would say the 1900s.
Okay.
So back in the early 90s, I started working in the field.
Right.
And became a certified speech pathologist in, I think, 97, 98, around there.
Wow. So I've
been working in the field for a very long time, yes.
Well, I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so happy that I'm going to be able to pick your brain today. And
I hope I have some answers. I hope I can answer any questions. Yeah.
Oh, you will. And I just can't wait to learn from you today, because this is such a powerful topic, communications, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Communicating with our little ones, our teenagers, our kids, our spouses, really.
Everybody.
When you have kids, right? Because sometimes you lack that communication with that spouse in the early
Communication
stages.
is key. That's what I always say. It's key to every relationship, no matter where you are. Communication is key in every relationship that we have.
How do you find it to be, specifically for moms, how is communication key?
Well, communication is a huge part of their development. So as a speech language pathologist, or a speech therapist, as more people know my title as, moms play, parents play, relatives play a huge role in helping your children develop their communication skills. And that has changed such a great deal over the years because of technology. So moms need to remember that technology, while it has its place, it does not take the place of the interactions that you have with your children. And that's what is the most important thing.
What have you seen with technology? Like, can you give a specific example of how it's kind of not been a positive?
Well, and listen, like I said, everything has its place. I think technology is taking the place of those face-to-face interactions, which is actually why I developed my company, because I saw that happening. I saw that happening with my own children when they were 13 years old, and my daughter was having a sleepover. And rather than engaging with each other while they were at the sleepover, they were texting each other, texting other people.
Oh, not each other. Well,
not even each other. They were in the room texting other people who were not there. Not really. And what you're telling somebody is that the person who's with you is not important to you. When you're saying that phone is more important, that person on the other end of the phone is more important. So I've seen that transition of people using their technology to communicate rather than those face-to-face interactions.
Wow.
And as moms, I think it has, and listen, I'm a TV person. I love TV. I love watching TV. I don't love to read. I know how to read, but I don't love it. But I don't think the phone or videos should take the place of you interacting with your child. And I'm not saying it doesn't have a place. Listen, I put my kids in front of the TV and watched Baby Einstein when I needed to do things. So I get that. But I think that it has become way more prevalent, and it really has hurt the speech, language, and social development of our children.
So what would you say to some moms that will say, well, they're watching educational shows, you know, they're teaching them the ABCs and the colors?
Well, and I think that that's great. And I think in anything in moderation, I think is okay, right? But I think when you're using anything excessively, it can be hurtful rather than helpful. And you can take those opportunities to teach your children those same things.
That's true. That's true. Now, what are some fun, unique communication rituals you and your family have practiced regularly?
So I don't know about fun or unique. But when you say rituals, I think of something that we do, and I don't know that it's as common, but Ralph and I did this, my husband did this, before we even had kids, was having dinner at a set time every single night. But even when my kids were born and they were infants, we had dinner together as a family. They'd be in their height chair, and we'd be having family at this dinner as a family every single night. I mean, and we still do that.
Yes.
We still do that. Even though my kids are far away, sometimes they're on FaceTime, and we have dinner.
I love that.
My son was just, I think it was Friday night, he called, and we prayed together at dinner, and he sat with us as we were eating dinner on FaceTime.
So it's like he was there, but not really there.
There, but not really there.
Oh, I love that.
But that is something that I think is so important. And I think moms and families get caught up in the busyness of life, right? And we're grabbing food here and we're grabbing food there. But when we are able to sit down and have a meal together, that's our opportunity to talk and engage with one another.
That's so true.
And catch up on our days and what's going on. And my kids, like I said, have seen that since they were infants.
That's so true. And it makes me laugh, but at the same time makes me a little sad. So we have dinner on the counter. Of the older ones I put on the counter, the baby's on his side chair, and I just stand there and feed 2 out of the 3. Sometimes the third one wants to be fed too, my oldest one. And I'll just sit there and I'll pick from whatever is on the counter. And something that my oldest said to me, and he said it quite a few times, he thinks a dining room table is only for special occasions. He goes, do you think we can have family time again like we did for Easter? Like Easter breakfast, birthdays. I usually move the party, the breakfast into the dining room. And then it just hit me, and I'm saying, Nicholas, we can use the dining room table anytime. It's not just for holidays or birthdays, but I almost feel like I've set that tone where, okay, we'll actually we'll all sit down at the table during holidays or birthdays. And now hearing you say that, I'm like, we need to change that. Because,
if you can,
and I can, and I definitely can. All I have to do is just move into the other room. I mean, we have a table,
and it sounds like it's something he's looking for too, right? Yes. Because he sees it as something very special.
He does,
and those are going to be the takeaways that your kids are going to remember forever. Like my son, he's talking about in his future, this is what he wants for his family. He wants them to sit down and have dinner together.
Right.
I mean, those are some of the things that they remember the most.
Right.
And what they anticipate doing in their own lives. And again, that was something that I did as a family growing up. So I'm just passing it down to generation. But it is just a great moment to reconnect with your family.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't do it, because we always sat at the dinner table at my house. I mean, once my dad walked in that door, my mom would be like, your father's home.
Right.
We would come from wherever we were, whether we were outside, upstairs in our rooms, and we knew, dad's home. Wash your hands. We're sitting at the table. We always did.
Right.
So I'm not really sure what changed in my brain, I guess. But I also think it's just easier for me to just feed them in the kitchen.
Yeah.
While they're sitting there, and I probably have, probably cooking as well, and during all of this, so I guess it's just convenience.
Right. It's convenience. I think we get caught up in the scheduling of life and the chaos of life, and we're trying to do things that are quick and easy. And I just think, and it's hard and it takes time, but I think the payoff for doing that is just immeasurable.
Well, look at your son. How old's your son now?
He'll be 20 in October, so he's 19.
And he still wants to have family dinner when he's in a different
And they
state.
know when they're calling at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, we are sitting down and having dinner, which I realize is a little early, but that's our schedule.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I think that's great.
It's about making sure you figure out how you're going to fit it in your schedule to make it a routine and an expectation. And kids love routine and expectations.
Now, as your kids were getting a little older, and you were having these family dinners, how did that impact the way they communicated with you, and also the way that you and your husband were able to, I guess, find out what was going on?
So listen, we just always use that time of, how was your day? What went on today? Tell me about it. We still joke, because even when they were in preschool, and I was talking to Ralph about this last night, and we were talking about, us having dinner together and us communicating. I mean, I remember our kids talking to us about preschool, and yes, and and they had centers. And so my husband would joke, centers, what are we doing in our centers? And the kids remember that.
Wow.
But we would ask them about, what did they do in school? Like, we would ask them those open-ended questions that gave them the opportunity to talk about their day. What was good about your day? What was bad? Can you tell me, just asking questions and listen, a huge part of communicating is being really good listeners, which I am not always a good listener. Listen, I'm not great at anything. I do the best that I can, but being a good listener is a huge part of having good communication.
Now, did you ever encounter where your kids would shut down or not want to answer the questions? Did they ever come into a season where it was harder to communicate with them?
Well, listen, I think that's you can always anticipate that, especially when they're teenagers.
Right.
But, we had the fortunate opportunity of, we brought our kids up in the church, knowing God in their lives. And we've always had a sense of open communication. They knew our intentions, we knew their intentions, and they know we want the best for them. And of course, as teenagers, there were times that they shut down. We did have to have those come to Jesus moments where we had to talk to him and say, listen, you continue like this, this is how it's going to impact your future. But we had to have that open communication, those open lines of communication. And not that it was always easy. Of course not. With teenagers, they don't want to tell you anything.
Right.
They want to keep everything to themselves. I'm grown up. I'm an adult. But, we try to meet them where they are, to know that we are there for them, to support them, to listen to them, and to help them in any way. And like I said, as young adults now, 23, 22, and 19, I could tear up because I see their love and appreciation for the things that God used us to work through us, to help them grow.
You guys
those
implemented,
little things, and the appreciation they have for, whatever we try to do for them to make their lives better.
And I think your son saying, this is what I want in the future, I mean, that speaks louder than anything.
He feels like there's a peaceful home that my husband comes home to.
Yeah.
And of course, us as wives and moms help create that peace in the home.
Right. Yeah. I think that's great. With our busy schedules and distractions everywhere, why is it essential for us to have intentional communication routines at home?
Well, again, I don't want to repeat myself, but it is those times that you need to touch base. You need to find out. That's when you find out what's going on in your kids' lives. And communication is how we build relationships. And if we don't communicate with our children, if we and listen, I know stories, right? I work with children. I know stories where moms have nannies and they're stay-at-home moms, or even if they're working moms and they come home, the nanny's still there. They're the ones feeding them and putting them to bed. Listen, a nanny does not take the place of a mom. And you don't want your children to have a better relationship with the nanny or the teachers than they do with you. So when you make those communication moments intentional, right, you're building long-lasting relationships. That's what you're doing. And who else do you want to have a long-lasting relationship with than your spouse and your children?
Correct, right.
I mean, there's nothing more important than those.
So even now that you touched base on like the working mom who comes home, 6 o'clock, kids go to bed at 8, 8:30. They have such a short window to really play, communicate, shower them, read them a bedtime story, and get them to bed. How is that feasible? Like, what are small little things, or how many minutes? Is there like a minute rule where you say, even if you just dedicate 15 minutes? I was talking to another friend, Elizabeth, and she shared like the 3-minute rule, like 3 minutes in the morning where like you intentionally focus on your child, 3 minutes when you pick them up from school, 3 minutes before bed. Any of this?
I don't know that there's a certain amount of time, right? Like I'm not going to place that boundary on that because everybody's schedule is different. I think the key word that you used was intentional. You have to be intentional, and routines I think are great to help you be more intentional, right? Because you know the expectation and then your child knows the expectation. So, I don't think that you could put a time limit on it, those boundaries. I don't know what other people's schedules are. So I just think the intention is the key word. That's what you said, being intentional. So if you take those moments and you have those routines of when you put your kid to bed at night, make that your time to connect with your kid. When you're giving your child a bath, make that the time. If you can have dinner together, things like that, things that you do consistently on a daily basis to have that opportunity to reconnect with your child.
Right.
That intentionality, being intentional is the key to that.
Right. So I remember someone once said, it's not the quantity, it's the quality.
Correct.
And that has stuck with me as a working mom. And I know even with my sister, she's also a working mom and her schedule's rough. I always say to her, remember, it's not the quantity, it's the quality that you give. Like even if it's during bedtime, even if it's at bedtime, but that you connect with the child, that the child knows, mommy's home the best part of the day. Right. Because I get to do X, Y, and Z with her. Or in the morning before the mommy goes to work, this is the best part of the day. Right.
Again, it goes back to your intention. Making sure what you're focusing on and connecting with your child at least on a daily basis, communicating, interacting with them. And even if it's not scheduled, right? There are things that you can do. I mean, take advantage of the opportunities that you have in the little things, even if you're cooking dinner and they're in the room, right? Like, so it doesn't even have to be that you're giving them a bath or reading them a bedtime story. But if they're in the room with you while you're doing something, folding laundry, interact with your child during those times. That's actually not just a great communication opportunity, it's a great learning opportunity for your children as well. Absolutely.
You'd be like, grab that shirt, I'm going to teach you how to fold it.
I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you learn a new skill or just talk about things while you're doing it, right? And you're teaching them other skills as well. Communication, I think, is the foundation for a lot of things, like, problem solving, critical thinking, negotiating, all of that. I believe communication is the foundation for all of that.
Wow, that's great. What do families lose out when they don't have clear communication routines or boundaries with their children?
Well, listen, if you don't have clear communication, of course, you always set yourself up for misunderstandings, right?
Yes.
And the last thing you want is to have misunderstandings in your family, which happens. It's inevitable. But you want to have the clear communication opportunities so that you at least mitigate that a little bit, right? When you communicate with your child, that's your time to not only connect with them, but that's how you build trust with them. right? And you want your kids to trust you.
Yeah.
You want them to know that you're the person that they can come to help them, to support them. And it's those times that you connect with them and that you listen to them and that you interact with them that's going to build that relationship so that they form that trust.
Right. I think trust is key now.
Yeah.
Would you say that that trust starts building at an early age?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
From infancy.
Right.
Absolutely. You know, they have to trust that you're going to feed them and change
right.
their diaper, you know, so that if I cry, this is going to happen,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
so trust forms at infancy.
And now as they get older, and you've experienced this with your kids, as they got older, do you recall ever there being an instant where maybe the trust wasn't there? Did that ever happen, or not really?
I don't know if it's trust. I think when kids get older, I mean, as you were a teenager, I was a teenager a really long time ago, but I was a teenager, right? And then you're scared to tell your parents something because you disappoint them. I don't think it's about trust.
Okay.
At least it's more of disappointment or letting your parents down or getting in trouble,
Yes,
right? Like they don't want to get in
yes.
trouble,
Yeah.
right? So, so I don't think it's mostly about trust. I think it's more about, figuring out the world
Right.
and where they are and who they are in the world and how to navigate the world, right? And part of our job as parents is to help them to learn how to do that.
Now, how do you make a child comfortable where they know you're their safe place, no matter what you've done, no matter what you did? I'm here. Like, I'm going to support you, or I'm going to, if they do something really, really bad, I don't want to say like, I'm going to be the one that's going to cover up.
Right.
And keep you from going to jail.
I think you have to be honest with your
Yeah.
kids about things, right? But I also think that, and that's not to say that they never get in trouble, or
Right.
they never get punished, right? My kids will tell you they got in trouble, they got punished for things. But I think they just need to know that, listen, we're here for you. Our intention is not to make your life miserable, right? Our intention is for you to learn from things and to help you through this so that you don't make such a big mistake that you can't recover from it.
Right.
Okay. So, and we are that safe place, even now that they're out of our house. My daughter, who's 23, living in Arizona, she actually just called me the other day and said, I don't know if I should tell you this, but I need your help. But I don't want you to be mad. And I totally wasn't mad because, I'm her mom. I've
Right.
done my job as
Yeah.
her mom. She's 23, living on her own, paying her own bills.
Yeah.
I will guide her. But it was such, and I don't want to tear up, but it was such a blessing to me.
I was just going to say.
That she called me and said, but she trusted enough
Yeah.
to want to know what I had to say about it.
Right.
And knew that I was going to give her an honest,
Yeah.
my honest opinion with feedback. And she thought I was going to be angry.
Yeah.
And but I think as parents, our relationship with our children changes, and we need to allow that to happen,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I'm no longer in the place with her where you have to do as I tell you to do because it's the right thing to do. Now I've done my job. You're out in the world. I will guide you if you're seeking guidance from me.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes when you're not seeking guidance
I'm
from
still
me,
gonna guide
I'm
you.
still going to say something to you. But I have to allow her to make her own decisions.
And I think that, again, another moment that speaks volumes, because as an adult, it's like I can come to my mom.
Right.
And I know that there's that trust there. We built that trust where I feel safe and I can tell her. And I know she's going to be honest with me. And I know mom's going to give it to me straight up, not sugarcoated.
Right.
And maybe she's going to get mad. But there's still, even if she's probably thinking, even if she's going to get mad,
Right.
I can still go to her.
Because you trust her.
Right.
Because it's your mom who has your best intention at heart.
Yes.
I don't have any other goal in guiding them except for their best interest.
Right.
That's the only goal that I have. But that your mom is going to tell you the truth.
Yes.
You know that your mom built that relationship with you from a very early age. I'm in my 50s, mid 50s, and I still call my mom up, not just to get her feedback, to ask for permission for things, right?
Stop it. Mom, do you think I should go there? Do you think I should
Mom,
do
I'm
this?
going to do something. Can you tell Daddy? Because I don't want him to get mad. She's like, I got it. I'll take care of it. She says it like the mafia. I got it. I'll take care of it. But, I still want her because why? We want their approval. We want their okay.
It's true.
Because listen, she was my guide through my life.
Right.
So I still trust her. I still know that she only wants the best for me.
And I think as parents and as moms, really, it's so important to know like your role as your kids get older, because it's so easy as a mom now. I mean, I don't have older kids, but I'm just thinking you always want to protect, and you always want to keep them, and you always want to shield them, and you don't want this to happen to them. So you almost feel like, well, I could keep that from happening if you just follow my rules.
I think that's not a good idea.
Right.
Like, I think you have to let your kids fail. I think what's happening now also, besides technology, is that we do have, and I'm not trying to say it's bad or good, but we do want to help our kids develop, right? So I think what's happening now is we try to protect and shield our children too much.
Okay, yes.
And so what's happening is when they do get in the real world, they expect everybody to meet their needs when they want it, how they want it. They don't know how to problem solve. They don't know how to critical think, to have critical thinking skills to get through a problem, and just want to quit if somebody doesn't solve the problem for them.
Right.
So I think those are very great life lessons that you can teach your children if you don't always rescue them. That doesn't mean you don't guide them or help them, right? But sometimes you have to let them fall and hurt themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Of course, again, you don't want them to anything detrimental to happen to them that will alter their whole future.
Right, of course, right.
So you're there, you're that safety net. But I think you have to give them the opportunity to fail in order to figure it out.
So how did you get to that place where you and your husband both felt comfortable and said, we're not always going to be there. We can't do this for them.
And this is so funny because I was just talking about it outside with somebody, how, when the kids were little, like and this may sound horrible, but like I remember my girls fighting, like physically fighting, and my husband being on one end and I was on the other end. And they were like maybe
vicious.
4 years old. They're only 16 months apart. And we watched them physically fight on the dining room floor. We're like, let's see how it pans out, and so we let them listen. No blood was shed. We did separate them, but they had to figure out like there are other, and that's how people learn that there are other feelings involved.
Right.
There are other perceptions. There are emotions. Other people have feelings and emotions too. And so, I mean, from an early age, we kind of, and my son will tell you. So he's in carpentry. He's a carpenter. So he would tell you that we're 20 grit. Okay. We are very rough parents, And but he says you were so rough, but the roughness created the diamond that I am. That's what he says. But it's allowing them to go through those struggles. And listen, my kids have had to deal with a lot of disappointments, a lot of struggles. I didn't always save them. And if they did something wrong, there was a consequence for the things that they did wrong, to know that, life, the choices you make have consequences in your life. And they've had to deal with so there was a time for my son that we had to do something very difficult. And it was a life lesson for him. But, he did something in school and we had to take away him playing on the most valuable players team for his baseball league. And it was so hard, but he had to realize that there are consequences to choices that you make and actions.
I remember you telling us that story.
It was very, very hard. And they don't think I was upset about it. That, kids have that idea that, you're happy, I don't play. But it broke my heart. It broke my heart when I had to take my daughter's, I think, 12th or 13th birthday away because she got a bad grade. And I'm not saying it wasn't going to happen. I'm saying we invited everybody and we had to call up everybody and say, sorry, we're not having a sleepover because this is what happened.
Wow. Yeah.
Because there was a consequence. And I guess they will tell you that they were traumatized. I don't know. They're okay.
They're okay now,
they're
right?
All right.
Yeah.
They're,
they survived.
Yeah, they survived, so they're doing fine right now. But, those were life lessons that they knew that there were consequences to their choices. So.
And I'm sure you guys made those boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
You let them know that these are going to be the consequences if X, Y, Z happens.
Right.
So it's not like you decided, if she fails, what are we going to do? Yeah, we'll just take the birthday party away.
And I think how we were different was that we are not helicopter parents. I was not a helicopter mom. So I wasn't the one that went on the portal every day to make sure my child's homework was done. I let them, and this is part of their development, I let them grow and learn on their level and made them responsible for things.
Right.
So I wasn't the parent who went on the portal and said, you have this homework tonight, you have this homework tonight, and you have this homework tonight. That's not my job.
Yeah.
Okay. My job is to teach them as to be working young adults in this world who contribute to society,
right? Of course.
And not depend on other people. So I would often tell teachers, I'm sorry, I don't check the portal. That's their job. Their job is to make sure they get their homework done.
Right.
Their job is to make sure they study. And I will help them, but they're going to have the consequences of their choices.
Right.
So I'm not going to take on their responsibility of the homework. I have my own job to do.
Yeah.
And it's not doing 7th grade math.
Right. Yeah, no, thank you. You're on your own.
So you're on your own. Yeah. I'll help you if you want to come to me. I'm always there. They always knew. That's one thing. They always knew if they needed me, they were there. I was there for them. So I can give you another example of that. My daughter wanted to go into the culinary program for Barry Tech. And she did everything she was supposed to do. She went to the right people. We did a walkthrough of the program. She found out about the program. She did everything she was supposed to do, never got the application for the school. Well, that's when I step in. When I see that my kids have taken every step that they needed to take to get the things done that they wanted done, and they weren't getting it done because something was stopping them or they weren't listened to seriously because they were children, I stepped in.
Right.
I stepped in, and they knew I always.
You meant business.
I meant and if I stepped in, and administration knew I meant business. If I had to step in, then there was something wrong.
It's like you don't hear from me all year.
Right.
So if you're going to hear from me, it's not good news.
There's an issue going on, and we're going to resolve it right now.
Yeah.
So, but they always knew that I had their back all the time, no matter what.
And I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Especially as children are growing, knowing that someone's in their corner, good or bad, no matter what they do, good or bad.
Yes.
I think a parent's reaction will dictate if that child will continue to return to that parent, turn to their parents. Yep. Because I think sometimes if we have that bad reaction to something that they did or do, it can completely change the course, don't you think?
It can, and I'm not, listen, our reactions, mine and my husband's reactions, were not always the best reactions, right? But I think it goes down to what is your intention as a parent?
Okay.
Why are you acting that way, And I do think a parent has to be able to apologize.
Yes,
if big. And I've done that. I think I might have even apologized to my daughter yesterday or something. But, you have to be able to apologize because you have to let them know. You realize, listen, this is and I've heard this before and I love it. This is my first time on this earth too.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This is my first time being a mom too.
Yes.
I'm still figuring out, even though you're in your 20s, I'm still figuring out how to hold on to you and let you go at the same time, So, I think you just have to show them that you're human too. We make mistakes too. Even though we're your parents, it doesn't mean that we're perfect. We make mistakes.
And I think, I'm just taking it back to a couple of years. As a teenager, I think hearing your parent apologize, your mother apologize, it's almost like, wow, they understand how they made me feel in that moment.
Right.
Or they get me. Like, yes, she yelled and she punished me, but she's sorry about the way she did it.
Right.
And I think that'll definitely build a trust and a closeness.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And like I said, it just shows them that you're human.
Yeah.
You're human. I don't do anything right all the time. I mean, that's actually one of my sayings is we don't do anything right. Nothing is definitive, right?
Yeah.
We don't do anything right 100% of the time. It just doesn't happen.
No.
We don't do
impossible.
it. So, to act that I do and I'm the perfect parent or the perfect wife, I'm neither of those.
Yeah. Join the club.
But I have to be willing to at least admit where my shortcomings are and apologize when necessary. We need to, and listen, this is another great life lesson for your children. I think we're living in a society where it's hard to take responsibility. But as adults, we can show our children that we're willing to take responsibility. It's okay to take responsibility. And actually, it's much better if you're able to take responsibility and you're more easily forgiven and can move forward when you're able to take responsibility.
Yeah. It leads me to, I'm thinking about my son, my oldest, when he'll say to me, "Show me grace. Just show me grace."
Show you grace.
He tells me to show him grace. He's like, "Just some grace, mommy." And I'm like, okay. And then I just hear Jesus like, "I show you grace every single moment of the day, Vanessa. So you're going to show this little 5-year-old a little grace today."
Yep.
And I'm like, okay. Like, let me breathe.
And that's just it, right? It all comes back to God and what Jesus did for us on the cross, right?
Yes.
That we show, especially the people we love, grace. We all fall short, and we just have to remember that.
Yes. And that's so powerful.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. Now, talk to us about a child's developmental stage.
So listen, a child learns from the moment they're born. They're starting to learn. The first few years of life and development are huge. And, we talked about technology and not taking the place of a human being. Listen, our children develop best when we're the ones helping them to develop. They cannot learn social skills from technology, right?
Yes.
They cannot learn critical thinking skills from technology. They cannot learn how to interact and communicate, have empathy and compassion for other people through technology. We teach them that. So I think as parents, we need to capitalize on those natural moments to help our kids develop. And that is talking to them about what they're doing. We talked about, if we're cooking, but also engaging them in the activity, in whatever activity you're doing, even when they're infants. We talk to them when they're infants. And I love some of the, going back to my speech pathology, I love when I see a parent reacting just to, you can't understand what a word the baby's saying, but you can hear the different intonation, and then you're responding. You're teaching them turn taking. So you're actually using those natural moments to teach them how to communicate, how to interact, how to socialize with other people. So you can use those non-structured moments to do that as well, and make it fun. You can make those activities fun, whether it's doing the laundry, whether it's cleaning the house, whether you're in the car. Talk about what you're looking at. Talk about, oh, I see a cow. What does a cow say? Things like that. And that helps enrich their language, their understanding, their use of language. It helps enrich their social skills. So just try to see the opportunities that you have in everyday life to help your child's development.
So it's not like we have to build a school in our home and, invite all these people over from play dates so that we could see if they're socializing correctly.
No, but what I do want to say, and I do want to, get across, is that, listen, you're their mom, right? Getting back again to the speech, language, and social development. You're their mom. If you have concerns, and I tell this to every parent, if you have concerns, do something about it.
Yes.
If you think your child needs to be assessed or looked at or evaluated, do that. Don't let anybody discourage you and say, oh, they'll grow out of it, because I've heard that too.
Yes.
Right? I would rather you go have your child evaluated, whether you're worried about their speech, their language, their social skills, whatever it may be, physical skills, whatever. And the therapist coming back and saying, they're fine.
Right.
I would rather that happen than you put it off because people say, oh, they're going to grow out of it. And then when they're 7 or 8 years old, and now you're looking at a diagnosis.
Right.
Early intervention is key.
Yes.
It is key to helping your child if they're struggling.
Yeah, so, that's really good advice, because I think sometimes, especially for first-time moms, everybody's in your ear and you're comparing, and, you bring it up to Aunt Susie, and Aunt Susie tells you, oh, well, I remember Jimmy across the street. He didn't even talk till he was 5 years old, and look at him now. And, then you're in your head and you're thinking, am I over-exaggerating? Am I seeing things that they're not there? But yes. And always go with your motherly instinct. If something in you is nudging you and saying, let's just, like you said, it's just an evaluation. Yeah. And with these evaluations, it's nothing intrusive.
No.
Right.
And listen, as a mom, you know your kid better than anybody else. And that's what I tell all parents. I will tell you my professional thought, because a lot of times parents will come to me and just ask me, and I will tell you what I think. But ultimately, I will say, go with your gut. If you're concerned, can't hurt to have your child evaluated at all. So do what you think is necessary to help your child in any way you can.
Great. Well, Lynda, I loved having you here today.
Loved being here.
I want to have you back, and I'm sure I will.
Anytime.
But I want you to share with the audience where can they find you? Where can they find some of your resources?
So my company is Antonetti Communications and Speech Consulting. If you go online, it's acsc.consulting.
Okay.
And what I do actually, and while we were talking about children, I provide workshops for professional development. So I have workshops for interview skills. I have workshops for executive presence, leadership skills. So I do things like that. And I also have you can access my online courses.
Awesome.
On my website as well. So,
awesome.
And you can get any of my contact information through acsc.consulting.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. So much fun.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today on Messy Joy. We invite you to join our community by visiting messyjoyshow.com and subscribing to our various channels. Remember, even though life can seem messy at times, there's always joy to be found. We'll see you next time on Messy Joy.